Hey everybody, in today's video we are going to talk about pantry challenges, why I'm starting one today, the budget that I've set for our challenge, how long I plan to keep it going, as well as some other sort of rules and considerations that we've set up for our pantry challenge. If you've ever struggled to work through bulk food that you've purchased, food you've preserved, or even just random things that you've purchased at the grocery store that have been lost or forgotten, a pantry challenge is a really great way to find those things and to get them out of your house, use them up, or start working through them. Now, the intention of a pantry challenge is to get those food items starting to either, if it's a bulk food item, to start getting them moved out of your house, or find things that are just sitting there getting really old. But as far as other rules and things, there's really none. It's really up to you and your family or your household on how you would like the pantry challenge to work for you, things that you want to focus on, goals you may have, and things like that. Last thing we'll do is go through an inventory of my pantry shelves, our fridge, our upstairs freezer, and then our big freezers in the basement to come up with a meal plan for the next week. So the first thing I want to talk about is the reasons why we personally are choosing to do this pantry challenge. And I wrote down these things so that I would hopefully not forget any of the details. The first reason why I wanted to do this pantry challenge is to focus on working through bulk food storage. Now, for bulk food storage, we've purchased a lot from Azure Standard, and you maybe have seen some of my Azure hauls. I try to kind of show the kinds of things that we purchase through them. We also get bulk food items through our local food co-op, and it comes in a very similar way to the Azure order. Now, the difference is that you have to order either through a case or a bulk bag in some quantity. With Azure, you can order like one item or two items of certain things, but the co-op that we use requires you to get in case quantities. And sometimes you have options. So if it's a loose item, you can get 25 pound, 50 pound, things like that. But a lot of canned goods, they're going to come in quantities of 6 or 12 or something like that. So there's really two types of foods that we get in bulk that we can keep on our shelf. It's going to be dry goods that come in those bulk bags, or canned goods that are already sealed and are ready to sit on the shelf. Now, those canned goods, while they will probably stay edible for decades, especially if they're preserved in the correct environment, the nutritional value will continue to go down. And that is the case whether it is a home canned good or a store-bought good. That is not just something for home or store. So yes, there's expiration dates and things like that. Yes, canned goods, at least like the canning companies say these seals will be good for 18 months or whatever. The nutritional value of the food will continue to go down. So in 10 years, the food that we have sitting on our pantry shelves will not be as nutritious as it is now. So I want to make sure that we are going through the food that we've put up this year so that I have little to none left over when the next harvest and preserving happens for the next year. And so I would much rather run out of food in that case than have food that's carrying over. And then as far as the loose bulk goods like oats, wheat, rice, things like that, we also want to keep moving through those because there are oils that can go rancid. We do have them stored in airtight buckets, but it's not perfect. And I just want to make sure that we are consuming those when they are really in their best state. Okay, the next reason why I want to do a pantry challenge is that I want to clear out random pantry items that are probably sitting in our cabinets and other areas that are forgotten. And so these are going to be like the really random things that we can probably end up incorporating into a lot of recipes that we are doing anyway. But we'll just see. This is where it's going to kind of be a little bit spontaneous and it's going to require some creativity. But we'll get those items moved out before they start to get nasty to the point where you probably don't want to eat them. This can also be condiments. When I go through and look at my fridge, for example, I know there's going to be at least 4 different types of mustard in there. And we probably don't need 4 different types of mustard in our fridge at any given time. In fact, nope, there's 5. I know there's a 5th one. But things like that. So I'm going to have that in mind as well, so that we can pare that down to just maybe 1 or 2. So the next reason why I want to do a pantry challenge is I want to use our freezer items and if you saw I've done other videos where I've shown my pantry and I've shown freezer organization, things like that. Right now, we still have one freezer that's completely full of ground beef. There's one package of chicken thighs in there, I think, but for the most part, it's just completely ground beef. We do have some overflow in the other freezer, so we haven't really tapped into the big quantity of that yet. And I know that we have other food items that are just sort of random in our freezer that don't really fit into a lot of the meals that we routinely make. I know I have stuff in there from the holidays that we ended up not using. Other things that maybe like we had leftovers and then we had like a jar of soup. I know I'm going to find some of that kind of stuff in there. So those are the kinds of things that we'll pull out. And maybe it ends up being meals where we just kind of have random things. It's not just one meal. It's sort of random pick and choose kinds of things. If we need to do that, we will. So we'll find stuff like that in our freezers. The next reason why I want to do a pantry challenge is to save money on food. A huge reason why we preserve our own food, we buy in bulk, is to save money. And especially coming out of the holidays where we have spent more or purchased things that maybe were a little bit more expensive than we normally do, it's a great time of year to be able to pull back on that. Not only so that that doesn't carry over and continue establishing a new habit, but also just to be able to kind of balance it out. Which brings me to sort of my last big reason why I want to do a pantry challenge, which is to shake things up. Like I just said, coming out of the holidays, when we've spent, well, since probably before Thanksgiving, kind of leading into Christmas and then Christmas, you know, we're making things, we're doing things a little different than we normally do, and I don't want those to continue. And any habit that maybe we had before, it's a really good chance to be able to step back and say, are we eating in the way that we really like? Is everything in alignment with, you know, how we want our lifestyle to be and things like that? A lot of the reason why we preserve our own food, we buy these bulk foods, is because it's an intentional choice to purchase specific foods that have, you know, nutritional benefits that we're looking for or other things. And if we refocus on those, it can kind of help reorient our minds and our planning and just our meals overall back to what we really, how we want to be eating. Okay, so the next thing that we'll talk about is the budget. Now, we have a pretty big family and we eat a lot of fresh food. So when I think about that, I'm going to give us $50 per week to spend at the store. I'm really hoping that that is going to be a liberal amount, that I won't spend that much, but any amount that I don't spend one week, I'll give myself in the next week, because I might find that we're running lower on things that I thought we wouldn't run low on, and we might need a little bit more in the next week. $50 per week is a substantially lower amount than we normally spend on groceries, so I'm hoping that it will be doable to stick within that. I'm thinking it's probably going to come down to fresh fruit, especially apples. We go through so many apples in our house. Some dairy products, maybe some bread, and other things. I know we have a lot of frozen vegetables, at least right now. We'll see how long those last. With next week's video, what I hope to do is, so on a weekly basis, I'll kind of sit down and show you where we're at. We'll talk about how last week went, we'll talk about how the budget went, and then we'll make a plan for the next week. So we really don't have any other rules for this challenge. I think with the goals of working through all our food, as well as working with a pretty small budget relative to what we typically spend, is enough for us. This is the first time that I've done sort of an intensive pantry challenge, which is sort of how I'm treating this. And I mentioned in a community post last month that I was sort of trying to gear up for it and using that mentality all throughout the last month, which has been great. And it's sort of been priming me for where we're going. Now, as far as how long I plan to keep this pantry challenge up, we'll try the month of January, and I hope we can do January and February, and we'll see how that goes. I do have the added challenge that our oven broke just before Christmas. In fact, when we were making our Christmas dinner, we had to use our broiler because the top element works. It's the oven element that is not working. So that was interesting. And also, we're supposed to get a new one coming this week, but the mail has been really unpredictable, understandably. And so I'm not going to plan anything this week that is for sure going to rely on the oven itself. But if we need to broil something, that would be okay. Okay, so before we get into the food inventory, one thing that I wanted to mention is I have heard from another YouTuber who does pantry challenges this time of year. And so I will be sort of hashtagging onto that pantry challenge. And I think she does one that lasts about 2 months as well. And so I think mine will probably be kind of parallel to that timeline. And so I'll just piggyback on that hashtag on these videos that we're doing and things like that. So if you're doing a pantry challenge and you want to piggyback on that hashtag as well, it will be in the description box. It can be a great way to get more ideas, more inspiration, see what other people are doing, and make the pantry challenge just a little bit more fun. Okay, so I went ahead and did our inventory. Now I did an inventory on our fridge, our upstairs freezer, which I really want to try to clear out, our pantry or our cabinets here, and then our upstairs pantry and our downstairs freezers. I felt like those would be the least exciting things to look at on camera. So we'll go back downstairs to do our pantry shelves, canned goods, bulk goods, after we talk about what I found. So in the fridge, we found a couple different types of milk. We have soy milk, flax milk, some lunch meat. I actually just stocked up on lunch meat the other day. 2 different types of kraut, veggie kraut that I made last month, and then sauerkraut, which I made in the fall. A little less than a dozen eggs. We picked up an Azure order just before Christmas that had a ton of cheese. The one prior, we did test their cheese because we had not had it before, and it was delicious. So we did a lot more. So we got tons of cheese. A half a container of pasta sauce, some lemons, limes, carrots, just a few carrots, some sad-looking apples, a bell pepper, shallots, some celery, half a cabbage, some vegan feta, miso, and then some tofu. We have silken and firm tofu. So that was the fridge. The upper freezer, we've got tortillas, some naan, cauliflower, broccoli, stir-fried veggies, lots of peas. I really want to get through those peas because they've been sitting in there a while. A loaf of bread. It was just sort of like a French loaf that we got that we intended to use for Christmas, but we didn't. We got it at Costco, so there was excess. So I want to use it up. Then we have lots of berries. Now we do make a lot of smoothies, so I'm probably not going to build any recipes around the berries. And then we also like to just snack on them plain. Okay, and then the basement freezers. Oh, let's do the upper pantry. So the pantry off the kitchen here, we have a buttercup squash, and all of our squash and pumpkins that we have left are starting to kind of turn. I'm going to have to really get through those quickly. We have grapefruit, onions, garlic. We don't have that many onions, but we haven't been using that many, so 2 is probably enough. We have lots of different nuts. We have some different pastas, canned roasted red peppers, canned tomatoes, and just some other various things. A lot of the canned things I have upstairs, actually. I'm kind of waiting to have my oven back. I have some canned pumpkin and things like that I want to use, so that'll probably be on next week's plan. Okay, and then the freezers, of course, we've got lots of ground beef. We've got chicken broth, which I didn't realize I had. I thought I had just had some veggie broth that I found, but I found at least 5 pints of chicken broth in the freezer. 1 package of chicken thighs, that was the one in the beef freezer. More cauliflower, more broccoli, more naan. Some leeks. For Thanksgiving, actually, I made a recipe that called for leeks, and I had excess, so I just chopped up and threw it in the freezer. So that'd be great to use that. I found a package of shredded zucchini. Didn't know I had that. Some chard, and then I did find some random jars of soup. And I couldn't quite tell what it was, but I think it's a barbacoa beef in juices, or some kind of roast in its juice. So before we go downstairs, some ideas that I have are to make like some tacos out of that barbacoa beef, because I know we have tortillas upstairs. Lime. We've got cheese. We have lettuce, or I can get lettuce. And then I can actually use canned salsa as well. And then I was thinking soups might be something that's happening a lot, because when I saw all those veggies in there, and then we've got the bread, and the broth, I was thinking that would be really good. And we can always add meat or tofu or something like that to bread. So let's go downstairs and kind of look at what we've got, canned goods and bulk goods. Okay, here we are in the basement. And I don't know if you can tell, but there's lots of gaps. We've actually not gone through a lot of our peaches and pears, and I think that part of that reasoning is that I really wanted to make them last, and once my kids start getting into them, they disappear quickly. So I think we can let the leash out on that and just start eating through them. We have got lots of applesauce and this mixed sauce with cranberry and pear still. I'm thinking, like I said, we like to eat a lot of fresh fruits and frozen berries and things like that. So maybe try to balance like treats and desserts out. Instead of fresh, use these sauces. Green beans, we use some for the holidays, still have a lot of that. I moved my ground beef up because we only have a little bit left. Same with all of our meat. We've actually torn through all of our meat and all of our, we've actually gone through all of our meat and all of our broth. We have no broth up here anymore. 6 containers of this lamb. So that's something to think about. 1 quart of chicken. The salsa has been disappearing. I mean, we can easily eat a quart in a sitting. Our 2-year-old has been requesting this pickled cabbage a lot. I have been drinking this juice. We had a bit over the holidays. We've been using the tomato sauce and tomatoes. So, and then jams and jellies. Those I'm not concerned about moving through. We're going through them pretty darn quick. And then as soon as we run out, I'll just make more. I do want to get through these beets. I think I'm going to grab a jar of beets to bring up. Just set that right there. And then you know what? I'm also going to grab a jar of salsa because I want to use that with that barbacoa beef. Okay, so that's pretty much the canning shelf. And then as far as all this other bulk food storage goes, I actually have over here a 50-pound bag of oats that we picked up with Azure last time. And I unfortunately have not transferred over to buckets, but I have an empty one here. And I was actually going to wait. Oh, I have this empty bucket here, and then I was going to wait. This is almost empty, and I was going to transfer it into here once they were both empty. And then we've got all these split peas, steel cut oats that we're still working on, different wheat. As soon as my oven's back up and running, I've been really, really wanting to bake bread. And I think that might actually be a really great thing to use up, or to start to really chip away at through this pantry challenge, is making breads, especially if we have so many great ingredients for soups and things like that. It's a great time of year. It helps heat up the house, but our oven. So next week, I'm thinking that's going to be a bigger priority. Brown rice, we actually have gone through all of our white rice. That was something that we did. That's what this is emptied out of. And I'm not going to buy any more until we have worked through most of our brown rice. We do eat brown rice, but we had a lot more of it. It's not that we don't eat it as quickly as the white. It's that I just had so much more of it. So, all right, let's see. Baking stuff, that's fine to stay there. Different pastas, the same as upstairs. Seasonings. Okay, so we've got these canned beans that have been here for a while, and I have been going through them. I think I'm going to grab a jar of the black beans. I feel like these are probably getting close to Oh, they are expired. Okay, so put those on the priority. And then I'm also going to, garbage in there. I'm also going to grab one of these garbanzo beans. And let's see. Oh, yeah, that expired in August. The black beans, these expired in August. These expired in October. So I'm going to grab both of those, bring them up. We've been eating what's really good actually with this. We make hummus, or also we have like a chickpea salad that's like a chicken salad, but with garbanzo beans, and it's fantastic. And then with this, I'm gonna do a black bean soup. This is perfect. And then I think maybe I'll use that naan that I found, because I found some upstairs and downstairs. Just heat that up and have it with black bean soup. It'll be great. And then down here, let's see, we've got some junk on the floor. Some almond milk. That's not too old. Peanut butter, not concerned about using that. We go through that like crazy. Okay, so this is more ingredients that would be great for soup. And because we're having a black bean soup this week, I might wait on this. I have some masa that I bought to make some corn tortillas. And I have a press in the container next to it. Maybe I'll try that this month. That'll be exciting. And not this week, because I've got a lot. I want to try to focus on a few other things, but we've got some more crackers. The kids were looking for those yesterday. And then here, peanut butter powder, more pasta. Oh, and the other thing we have back here is tuna fish. So, and those can be for lunches. I think mainly for this, I'm going to be focusing on dinners. Actually, hold on. Let me grab this stuff and we'll go back upstairs. Okay, I actually grabbed 2 cans of the black beans because the black bean soup recipe that we've been eating and loving actually calls for 3 14-ounce, 15-ounce cans. And so this is double that. So we will do 1.5 cans for the black beans soup, and then we'll have a half a can that we can use maybe in those barbacoa beef tacos, because then we can combine the beef and the beans and make it go a little further, because the beef is only in a pint jar. So, okay, and the garbanzo beans, I want to make sure I use a jar for some of that salad. That'll probably be a lunch, actually. Canned pickled beets, we can snack on that, and then this will be for the tacos as well. All right, I think I've got 7 dinners planned out. For our breakfasts, we have been eating a lot of oats, which we have plenty of, and we have anything that we'd want with it. So we've got, nuts and fruit and things like that we put on it. I'm going to be making more granola, but I want to wait until my oven's fixed. So we'll wait another week on granola. As far as lunches go, leftovers is very popular. Sandwiches, we can use some of that garbanzo bean salad. That will be really good. And so I think for other things, that should be, I think we're pretty well set on other meals. So for dinners, we will do the black bean soup with the naan, barbacoa beef tacos with beans, tortillas, which we've got upstairs, the lime, salsa, cheese, lettuce. We'll do a mixed veggie soup with some of that Costco bread. And if we want to throw in meat, we can. But I think it'd probably be fine without, especially if we use the chicken broth. So I'll mark that. So I make sure I use that chicken broth. One night I was thinking we would use that chicken and just roast it, or if my oven's not working for roasting, we'll cook it in a pan and have that with squash, my upstairs squash, and brown rice. And then I can make double the brown rice and make a stir fry, and we can make it with the stir fry veggies up here, and then add either the firm tofu or beef or something like that, or just veggie tofu or beef. And then one night also have a veggie pasta. There's lots of veggies that we need to use up. So I will pan fry or roast some veggies and toss it with sauce. And we've got various pastas that we need to use up, different shapes and all kinds of stuff. So we'll work through some of that. And then also I was thinking one night make pizza, because we've got some pizza sauce that needs to get used. We've got lots of cheese. We make our own homemade pizza dough, and then there's lots of little veggies that we can throw on. And I think we actually have some pepperoni in there too that I forgot about. And so things like that extra bell pepper, shallots, and things like that we can throw on pizza. So that'll be our first week, and it sounds really good. Sounds sort of the way that we normally eat. A few slightly different variations, different twists, but I think that it'll be a great first week for this pantry challenge. So I'm going to go ahead and get these all put down and assign them on days. We always like to stay a little flexible when it comes to that, because you know, things come up, or you know, we're like, you know what, we don't feel like that tonight, we would rather switch out for this other meal. We do that, and we like that flexibility. So I will kind of try to do a loose outline because that structure can be helpful to us. But aside of that, please let us know if you are doing a pantry challenge. You can comment, you can use the hashtag, and yeah, what some of your goals are, because I think that's some of the most exciting things to see why people are doing it, because then you kind of can think, well, yeah, that's kind of why I'm doing it too. Yeah. So the 5 reasons why I gave, those are the main ones. There's probably other little ones too. So that'd be awesome if you could share if you're doing one and what your reasons are for it. I will check in next week. We'll do a shorter version because I won't have to explain the pantry challenge and go through all my reasonings and all that. So next week's video for the pantry challenge will be, I'll just kind of do like a recap, like how it went, how the meal plan went, how well we stuck to it, how well the budget works. And then I can also say the things that I got at the grocery store. So I'm just going to get these items as well as a few other things that I am going to pull out for the meals for this week, put in our pantry front and center, and they'll be ready for this week. Thanks for coming along with me as we talk about this pantry challenge. I explain all the things that we're going to be doing. I'm excited about it. I think it's going to be challenging, and we'll see. It'll be maybe a clumsy process, but I hope to learn a lot of things along the way. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we will see you soon.